Welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha, a podcast shared by David Roylance. This podcast is dedicated to guiding you to completely eliminate the discontent mind and the suffering it causes by attaining enlightenment. Learn and practice the teachings of Gautama Buddha that will guide you to fully attain a peaceful, calm, serene, and content mind with joy. To support this podcast, visit patreon.com/support Buddha or visit buddhadailywisdom.com, where you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online learning resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Now, here's our teacher to share more.
Sawadee Kap. Hello and welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha. Today is our group learning program, and on Wednesdays what I do is meditation with students, and then I just open up to any and all questions that you guys have. So today is Breathing Mindfulness Meditation that I'll be guiding you in that session. Then I'll open up to any and all questions that you guys have after the meditation. Next week we'll be doing Loving Kindness Meditation. So we're going to be rotating these every other week. There'll be Breathing Mindfulness Meditation one week and then Loving Kindness the next week. And then of course on Sundays, I go chapter by chapter in this book, Developing a Life Practice, The Path That Leads to Enlightenment. This week we're in chapter 11, which is titled Meditation, Developing Your Practice. This is the chapter where I give you all the ins and outs about meditation and how to develop your practice. We're actually going to be talking about 4 different meditations, what they are and how to use them in your practice and why it's important to use these. So I'd like to welcome all of you, whether you're joining for the first time or you're joining regularly. If you'd like to join for meditation, you might pull up a meditation cushion or a chair or whatever position you like. There's seated, lying, standing. There's also walking, but it doesn't usually work out too well with online learning. I'm going to ease us into meditation with some chanting. Then I'm going to come in with some guidance. There's going to be a period of time where it's just quiet and we're meditating together. Then we're going to come out of the meditation with some more chanting. And you're welcome to join along in the chants if you like. Arahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Bhagavanang Abhivateyami Savakato Bhagavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Sama Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Hoto bhagavate. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath, not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathe in gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Photang Mahakavanhang Aphivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicha Charanang Sammuno Sakato Rokavitu Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusarang Hoto Bhagavati. Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to all of you guys here, whether you're in Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Welcome to our class today. This is our guided breathing mindfulness meditation session, where I'm guiding you in a breathing mindfulness meditation session, and I'm going to be teaching this so that you can learn the ins and outs of it this Sunday. But if you guys have any questions today, whether it's about anything related to the path to enlightenment or your journey to enlightenment, the teachings, meditation, or any other aspect of your practice, you're more than welcome to ask any and all questions that you like. You can put your questions into the comment section of Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand electronically in Zoom and then unmute your microphone and ask your question that way. So let me know if you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask. Okay, it looks like Leo has a question. Go ahead, Leo.
Thank you, David. I have some questions I would like to ask. Okay. First a small question. Sometimes I think that when I do the loving kindness meditation, it's nicer for me to use the word conditioned feeling instead of discontentedness. I think this is also an option I can do, right? What do you think about that?
May all beings be free of conditioned feelings. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and the suffering they cause. Because with conditioned feelings, I have more the picture of pleasant, painful, and neither pleasant or painful. And with the word discontentedness, I associate more dissatisfied. So I don't have these three different conditioned feelings options. I don't see them in this word. So I thought it's maybe better for me to use conditioned feelings.
Yeah, if that's what works for you, it's essentially the same thing. It's a different word, but it's referring to exactly the same thing. What that phrase is actually saying is essentially, may these beings get to enlightenment. That's essentially what it's saying, but you're doing it in a more detailed way. So both of those are essentially the same thing.
So could I also say, may all beings get to enlightenment?
You
Would
could.
that be all?
You
Okay, okay.
you
Is
could.
another option of these two.
You could. I think that talking about discontentedness and suffering, it really helps the mind a lot more. But whatever you choose to say or do is really up to you. It's your practice. I've never done it the way that you're thinking about doing. And one of the best ways to know whether this works or not is to use it. I'm saying that yes, the conditioned feelings part and the suffering that it causes, that would work. If somebody says, may all beings get to enlightenment, I think that would work too. But I didn't do it that way. So I can't say with 100% certainty because the way that I teach it is the way I did it and the way that works to eliminate anger, hatred, and ill will and all those lesser versions. I know that for sure, and that's why I teach it that way. So if you're going to try something different, you would need to do it for a good week or two or three and see for yourself, is it helping to reduce your anger, your frustration, your agitation, your annoyance? Are you seeing improvement in your condition of your mind? Are you noticing that in your relationships you don't have the bitterness and hostility that you once had, the resentfulness? Are you noticing that within your own inner dialogue that you don't have this negative self-talk? If you're noticing a decreasing of that, then it's working.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm also thought about this internal saying of cutting off, letting go, or cutting off. So I think I'm now in touch with your teachings for about 9 months. And I think the last 5-6 months, I used this cutting off in my head, like cutting off, saying that. And I still do it. So I just, thought, I wanted to ask, what are your thoughts? Is it now time to let this go? This repeating in the mind and just do it without it? What do you think about that?
So you've been doing that during meditation?
Also, yeah,
Okay.
especially for sensations
Okay.
and also thoughts sometimes. But
Yeah, you can let this go because you would like to get to the point where it's automatic, where the mind doesn't even have to think about it, that it just automatically does it. So you're going to need to train your mind to no longer do that. So that would be ideal. If you think now's a good time for you, then go for it.
okay, yeah, not sure if this is good time for that now. So, or is it maybe that it also goes by itself away? This internally saying, no, I need to take the effort to stop that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing on this path that happens automatically that you're going to need to put the effort into doing it and making a conscious choice that this is what you're choosing to do.
Okay. All right.
It's not going to harm you by choosing to eliminate it. It's going to probably feel odd because you're not used to it and your mind has probably gotten used to this cutting off, cutting off, cutting off, and now your mind's probably going to crave that permanence. So when you stop doing, it's probably going to feel odd and awkward and weird. That's why you've got to do it, is you got to get through that impermanence and get to the point where now your mind can just cut off and let go without having to say it internally.
Okay. Perfect.
Mhm.
Then a few days ago, I realized the strong sensations. I would say I think for me it's difficult to really explain the way of sensation, but it was somehow pressure, I would say, and tingling on the forehead, and also a sensation in the stomach. Um, So when I was listening to a particular music I really like, I had this, and I associated it with pleasant feelings. Um, so I tried to cut it off and cut it off and cut it off while I was listening to this music, and I realized that I couldn't cut it off completely. So the sensations were like always swinging around with me for persistent length of time. Um, And then I stopped the music, made it at pause, and I saw that the sensation would also fade away or stop. So I'm interested why I was seeing the sensation so clearly with this particular music. Does it mean that I'm maybe more able to realize sensations now after this month I'm learning? And then I also wanted to ask if it would be good if I put myself in the situation, so I listen this pleasant music again and try to cut it off again and again, and to see it just as contact. So I try to be unaffected by this music. Or is it maybe better to distance myself from the music, which I know is another option, because it seems that these sensations are really strong. What do you think about that?
Okay, let's handle one thing at a time. The first one is that, yes, if you're starting to notice the bodily sensations more directly now, this is because you've accumulated a certain amount of benefits. Because now that you've been practicing this way for 9 months, your mind's starting to develop the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And not everybody's going to develop them in the same time frame. There's some people that within the first week or two or month or two, they already have the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Some people it takes multiple years. So everybody's a little bit different because of impermanence, but it sounds like that's exactly what's occurred, is that your mind now has a better developed its right mindfulness. It's still not fully developed because you'd be able to spot these bodily sensations in every single situation if it was fully developed, but it's more developed. You'll see that your mind's going to become more sensitive to this, and you'll notice these more because you're starting to get more forward progress and more momentum because your mind has absorbed a certain amount of the meditation at this point. So your 4 foundations of mindfulness are starting to be more developed. So keep moving in that direction. Keep doing their breathing mindfulness meditation and keep practicing in day-to-day life your mindfulness. You need to be practicing mindfulness from the moment you're waking up until the moment you're going to sleep, that the mind is fully aware, even as you're just waking up in the morning, all day long, and even as you're dozing off at night, you would like to have awareness of mind. That's the first one. Now, the second one, if you're noticing that a particular music is arising pleasant feelings in the mind, this is actually also good too, because usually the pleasant feelings, the bodily sensations associated with the pleasant feelings, are oftentimes more challenging to notice. The painful feelings, those bodily sensations associated with the painful feelings, are typically really straightforward to notice because they're very strong, they're very prominent, and the mind doesn't like them, so it notices it. But with the pleasant feelings, the mind usually has less of a tendency to be aware of these. So it's good that you're aware of the bodily sensations with the pleasant feelings. And typically, what you do is whenever you're noticing that the mind is experiencing certain pleasure with something, remember this is conditioned pleasantness, right? Where the mind is basing its inner feelings on this condition. Normally, what you do is you distance yourself from that for a significant period of time. And then, after you think that your mind has let go of the attachment, then you can gradually bring that thing back in, slowly but surely. And now you can start experiencing it without the conditioned pleasant feelings. And then when you have something that the mind is repulsed by, or it's pushing it away, that it sees it as disagreeable, and it's experiencing painful feelings because of it, those are the things that you'd like to bring in and expose your mind to, because the mind's trying to push it away, and you would like to expose the mind to that. The thing that the mind's clinging to and holding on to, you would like to do just the opposite, which is distance yourself from it so you can train the mind to let it go.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, then I put this on pause. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Then I still think that I have just I don't see so many bodily sensations in my case. Just the one I mentioned, the ones, mostly sensations on my head. So I thought, I think because of impermanence, it could be that everybody has, you already said in the past that everybody has different sensations and also the amount of sensations. What do you think about that? Could it be that I also have 2, 3, 4 different sensations that I associate with all these different feelings before they come?
You're
What do
gonna
you think?
you're gonna notice multiple different bodily sensations. You'll even get to the point where happiness has one sensation, excitement has another one, or sadness has one, loneliness has a different one, boredom has a different one. You'll start to be able to discern that when you develop your mindfulness really close. You don't have to do anything to actively figure that out. Just keep going with your breathing mindfulness meditation and keep practicing your mindfulness in day-to-day life, and you're going to become more and more and more aware of the bodily sensations that are arising due to the cravings, desires, attachments in your mind. And this is going to give you more and more opportunity to cut it off and let it go before it becomes a feeling. And this is where the mind really gets transformed. If you can get to the point where every single time discontentedness is arising, you're noticing it as a bodily sensation and cutting it off and letting it go there before it becomes a feeling, you'll get to enlightenment within the next 1 to 3 years. When you get to that point, you're not up to that point yet, but when you get up to that point, you'll get to enlightenment within 1 to 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I actually also, I think that I'm still quite far. And I heard from a past course that you said that some people get into the jhanas in 3 to 6 months. And I know that I'm not in the jhanas, so I'm quite maybe far away from that. What do you think about that? I'm now doing this for a couple of months. Yeah, maybe you have an idea because you know me a little bit better now. Maybe this is a question I can ask you tomorrow.
Yeah, what you're starting to experience is the jhanas are starting to peer through a little bit. You haven't attained the jhanas yet, but you're starting to see some of the qualities start to appear. So this is a good indication. I can explain to you in our personal discussion the reason why you're not in the jhanas yet. I think you probably know why, because it's a topic that we've been talking about quite a bit in our personal discussions. But there's one particular thing that you've been working on to let go of, that if you let go of that, it's going to help you get into the jhanas much better.
Yeah, could you mention this? What is it?
So yeah, if you're comfortable with me mentioning it, the alcohol that you were drinking, you were still drinking alcohol, still attached to that. If you get rid of that for an extended period of time, your mind will more readily move into the jhanas.
Okay.
Yeah, so drugs, alcohol, caffeine, all of those substances that cause heedlessness, that's going to hinder somebody from being able to experience the jhanas. They can still get into the jhanas if they're using a little bit of those things, but it's really like slowing you down and really bogging you down. By the time you get to the first stage of enlightenment, somebody has definitely eliminated the substances that cause heedlessness, but the sooner you eliminate those, the better. The mind's going to be able to get into those jhanas and move right through them. As long as there's substances that are around, it's really slowing down the whole process. It's like sabotaging your ability to really make your way towards the jhanas and to the first stage of enlightenment.
So you said that, I think I remember that you said something like it needs 1 year to get free of this essential, at least 1 year, and a minimum 1 year to get away from essential desires for substances that cause heedlessness. Does that also mean that then after a year there is a possibility to get into the jhanas? Or
what I was saying was that in order to know with 100% confidence that you've eliminated any particular craving, you would need to go 1 year without that thing, right? So like when you go 1 year without substances and you're actively on this path, you can be pretty confident that you've eliminated that craving, right? You're still not interested in convincing yourself you have eliminated it, because if it comes up at 1 year and 6 months, you'd like to cut it off and let it go. Don't allow the mind to go down that path. So you're not interested in convincing yourself of that. But what I was sharing with you is you were saying that you had been away from substances for a while. And I think I asked you how long. And I think it was like a couple of weeks at that point, or 3 or 4 weeks. and you said you were done with substances. And I was like, you may very well be done with substances, but you can't say that you're done with them 100% until it's been a good 1 year, right? So that's what you would like to see. But that doesn't mean that the mind's going to wait an entire year before it gets into the jhanas. That's why you're starting to experience some of those qualities, because I bet you've probably been away from the alcohol for a certain period of time at this point.
So you think this is one of the main factors with the substances?
Yeah, if you
So,
get rid of substances, this was going to really help you to get into the jhanas and beyond. Because that's just like carrying a bunch of heavy chains on your ankles to be able to be taking substances in trying to train your mind. Because the whole goal of training your mind is that mindfulness is like the catalyst that's going to help you to really put all these teachings into practice. And the substances that cause heedlessness are taking you in the opposite direction of that. Even one beer a week, it's still taking you in the opposite direction of that.
yeah, thank you. I would say that my motivation to not do these kind of things is quite strong now. So I'm really trying to avoid all these kind of things. But actually, I just at the weekend visited old friend of mine I haven't seen for some years, and in Berlin, and he was smoking marijuana in his room. So he also opened the window a little bit, um, and I also what was a bit worried about that, because I thought, um, will it have an unwholesome effect on me, because I'm somehow a passive smoker, even when he didn't blow the smoke into my face, but I could smell it. It was in the room. Yeah, so I felt also a little bit uncomfortable there, and asked him, hey, could you maybe open the window and stuff like that. But would you say this has an impact on me, and this now somehow gets me away from the path? Because even I didn't want it to be in this situation, or I didn't not interested in smoking this kind of stuff. I was in this environment where someone did it.
Yeah. So by taking in secondhand smoke, it is going to affect the mind. It's not going to affect it as much as if you actually smoked it, but it is affecting the mind to a certain degree. And the other thing is that someone who's on the path to enlightenment, they would understand the natural law of karma so well, they wouldn't associate in a situation where there's these kinds of things going on. So, like to get to the first stage of enlightenment, you would associate with wholesome persons. Not that you're judging this person, but an individual would know how unwise it is to be in that kind of situation. So, as someone in the first stage of enlightenment, you wouldn't even be in that situation. You would have chosen differently. You would have made different choices. So, the fact that you've done this and it's in the past, I would encourage you in the future, if you see things headed in this direction with any of your personal relationships, is just go away from it and choose to not be involved.
Okay.
All right. So I think I'll go to Kirk now since he has some questions. So go ahead, sir.
Um, so with the mindfulness meditation and then getting into the loving kindness meditation, when is a good point to start adding in the loving kindness meditation, or just to focus on the mindful meditation for now?
Usually someone will build up their breathing mindfulness meditation for at least 4 weeks, 6 weeks, somewhere around there. But that doesn't mean you have to wait that long. So, you could bring it in as early as 2 weeks. But normally you'd like to get a good 4, 6, even 8 weeks of time with your breathing mindfulness meditation, really preparing the mind, getting used to meditation, have a tendency to do it 2 or 3 times a day, kind of building up to that, and then bringing in your loving kindness meditation. Okay. So let me just check to see if we have any questions anywhere else. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions anywhere. So I'm just going to end by thanking all of you guys for joining. Thank you for your interest in learning the teachings of the Buddha. As you guys would like to learn more, you're more than welcome to. We have classes on Sunday and Wednesday for the group learning program. And then on Saturdays, we have the Pali Canon and English study group. And you'll need to check your local time zone because for people like in North, Central, and South America, the group learning program is Saturday night and Sunday morning, or it's Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. So you're going to need to kind of check your local time zones to be able to know that. So if you would like to learn more, there's plenty of options for you guys to be able to learn. Like I mentioned, this Sunday, I'm going to be in chapter 11 of volume 1, which is titled Meditation, Developing Your Practice. I'm going to go through all the ins and outs of the 4 types of meditations that the Buddha taught, explaining to you exactly what they are, how to do them, and what you're actually targeting in the mind and why these are important for your practice. So thank you all for joining for today's class, and perhaps we'll see you guys in a future class. Be well and take care. Sawadee-ka.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To provide support for this podcast, visit patreon.com/support Buddha. To access more teachings, visit buddhadailywisdom.com. There, you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Remember to establish a daily, consistent meditation practice, along with learning and practicing these teachings. A well-developed meditation practice is the foundation in which to train the mind to attain enlightenment.